what are the things that you believe just really makes a really good cannabis producer? What are some of the key things, not only that you believe, but you believe that should be an industry standard for good cannabis?
You need to consume cannabis to understand cannabis.
Okay.
I think that's crucial. I think that there's a large majority of the industry that's missing the consumer aspect of cannabis. They're going to tell you how to grow it the most efficiently, the most effectively. They're going to show you how to make the biggest profit margins off of it. These guys have dialed this into where it is a perfect formula, more of a perfect formula than actually what you're able to create to make the cannabis in the first place. They know how to make money off of cannabis, and they've never smoked it.
Mm-hmm.
They don't know anything about it, quite honestly. They've never rolled their own joint. They don't know what the feel of cannabis is in their fingertips. They don't know the difference between a gritty crystal versus a greasy crystal. They couldn't tell you the difference between a terpene. They couldn't tell you why
what a pheno is.
Yeah, what a pheno is, or and they might even have some of the terminology down, but there's not any real world experience behind it. And I see like these massive success stories of people that really don't know cannabis.
Mm-hmm.
They're people that have figured out how to market cannabis, and that is a skill. Don't get me wrong. I'm not harping on these guys' success. I'm just pointing out that we're practicing what we do differently than that. That's not our focus. Our focus is the consumer. There's something I used to spread around Oregon all the time, and it spread like wildfire back in the 90s when I was talking about it. And I said, you guys are messing up by focusing on the guy that is purchasing your cannabis, because we are selling massive amounts of cannabis, and that guy isn't the guy that's consuming the cannabis that you're selling. You need to focus on the guy that smokes the 20 bag, because that is your consumer. Mm-hmm. That is the guy that matters the most. Mm-hmm. Stop putting this 100-pound motherfucker up on a pedestal. Fuck him. Mm-hmm. It's the 20 bag guy. Mm-hmm. It's the guy that is able to make 3 joints out of that 20 bag. It's the guy that has 2 bowls out of that to share with his girl. That's the guy that matters. Mm-hmm. That's the guy that we should be growing for. Mm-hmm. Screw that broker. Screw that dispensary. I care about the consumer. That's who we're growing for. And I believe that the industry's letting that slip away for money, for monetary value. And I'm going to get monetary value because I'm going to do it different. I know that's coming. It might be more of a struggle for me. I might not get there as fast as some of the other people, but I promise you, we're building a foundation that's built of concrete. Mm-hmm. You know, and when everybody else is trying to figure out how to sell their booth factory because people are going to get real smart real quick about what good cannabis is, it's going to happen. You know, there's going to be huge niche markets. It's happening. It's happening. Indica Sativa's dead already.
Yep.
2 years ago, everybody was like, Indica Sativa, and I was preaching it 10 years ago that it was dead, and here we are now. It's dead. That's a regional description. It's a physical description. It is not a description of what you will feel. That is a lie that has been told. It's a marketing lie.
So, let's talk about the names of cannabis right now. What I find it, I don't want to say it's problematic, but I find it a bit problematic that everything's named after a food.
That's a very good point. That's actually a really good point. I think it's problematic that we're naming strains after basketball stars.
Agreed. Agreed.
I don't remember that cannabis activist basketball star that was pushing this 20 years ago. I don't remember him.
Yeah.
I don't remember the guy that had the platform and the stage to step out and be a proactive cannabis activist.
His name wasn't Gary Herrera. Yeah. It was Jack Herrera.
It was Jack Herrera. That's absolutely right. Right. And why isn't he getting the recognition for standing his ground when nobody else would?
Right.
Like we all remembered him 10 years ago. Why doesn't the new generation talk about him as much as we do, with as much frequency as we did?
Foundational.
You know, I see big brands also trying to do this. We're the working man's brand. No, you're not. No, you're not. Cheap cannabis is not the working man's brand. If you were really a working man's brand, your whole objective would be to make sure that working man gets the most value out of his dollar. That's not what you're doing. These commercial cultivations, they're trying to bring in the most money for the least amount of investment. That's their whole game. There's no passion in it other than the mighty dollar bill. And if you're buying cannabis from somebody that's focused on money, do you think your cannabis is that good?
So, and what people don't realize in what you're saying, they hear that, but I don't think they realize that means that they're skimping on nutrients. You're getting
They're the king
stale
of shortcuts.
They're cutting nutrients. You're just getting a very substandard product that may appear and may have some of the looks, some of the expressions, some of the traits that a high quality cannabis does, but those are really an illusion that they've perfected. They've perfected the art of mimicking good cannabis without actually producing good cannabis. Yeah. And the only way a lot of times you can tell is after you snap it, throw it in a pipe and take a puff.
And smoke it. That's absolutely right. That's absolutely right. I think a lot of people get disillusioned by bright, shiny, white or clear crystal weed that sparkles indefinitely in light and under almost any light circumstance. That is not what you want to be smoking. What you want to be smoking is a mature cannabis flower. You're getting half of what's available to you because they're pulling it earlier than they should be pulling it. You need to see a minimum of 30% opaqueness and at least a 15% yellow on your cannabis trichomes before you even consider harvesting it. You shouldn't even be considering harvesting until you start to see those things turn. Now, I am all about there's variables from cultivar to cultivar. I understand this. I'm not a stranger to that. I know that some things turn out milky white, opaque, no matter how far you take them. That is that strain. It's very specific. I have some glue strains that do that downstairs. They will show white hairs. If you grow them for 90 days, they'll still show white hairs. So it takes a little bit of experience to understand, okay, this is a mature crystal. I've watched it curl over. I've watched it go bulbous. I've watched it stick back into itself. It is definitely hardened and has a nice shell around it. It's going to preserve itself well. It's going to hold its terpenes well. Like, those are things that I am aware of. But there's
stuff like that.
This concept of white weed. Like this white, shiny, clear crystal weed. And I get these guys that they look at my weed and they act like, oh, well, I've got this white, shiny stuff. And I'm like, okay, so I just showed you like this super hot 25-year-old chick that's super badass, model, beautiful. And you're like, oh, but check out this 8-year-old. Like, really?
Yeah.
Like, you just showed me something totally immature that doesn't interest me in any way, shape, or form and tried to compare it to something very mature and very ready.
Right.
You know, that doesn't maybe that's not the best analogy because it's kind of gross, but
no,
but it shows what I'm talking about, the maturity versus the immaturity. I see a cannabis with covered in yellow crystals and the hairs are finished completely and bulbous development to it. That's somebody that cared for it all the way till the end. They watched it mature. They cured it properly. They were looking for a mature effect from the smoke. That's somebody that grew for the passion of marijuana, not for the passion of money. You know? You don't see that out of cultivation centers. You see it out of home grows, but you don't see it out of cultivation centers.
So, right now in Colorado, we're watching the market crash.
Yeah, we're watching what happened. Well, the market crashed in Colorado. It got worse in California. And it's almost like Colorado's like, oh yeah? Watch this. You know what I mean? And it's,
hold my beer, California.
Yeah, hold my beer, California. We can do it worse. You know, and that doesn't make a lot of sense to me.
And so, with that, the reason that it's crashing is because the whole country's got in. Right?
Yeah, I mean, we've got 23 recreational states now with Minnesota coming on. I think we have 30 plus medical states currently. I could be off on that number. It's around the 30 mark. I know it's 23 recreational for sure. So we're looking at over half of the United States has accepted cannabis on some kind of regulated platform at this point.
And I think it's almost safe to say that all the lawyers and the sharks got in to make money but they didn't get in to produce safe, wholesome medicine. Medicine, not cannabis, but actual medicine. And one of the markets that we're in here in Colorado Springs is the medicinal side of it, right?
Strictly medicinal.
Strictly
Just so
medicinal.
everyone's aware, there is zero recreational in the Colorado Springs market. It is all medical cannabis in the Colorado Springs market, which makes it very niche and also makes it very difficult for us. I would prefer that it was recreational with medical. I do not want to abandon the medical market. You'll see a lot of companies do that. The first opportunity they get to have a rec license or a rec MIP, they realize they can lower the dosages. It's more cost effective to make rec, and they abandon the medical market soon as they realize there's much more profit in the rec market. And to me, that is a clear sign that the cannabis company that you are supporting is worried about profits only over medicine. They could care less about.
They're not worried about.
We watched one of my favorite companies. I'm not going to say their name because I still like the people that work there, and I still believe that they're going to pull this back around, and somehow the ass will remove the head, and we will realize that what they did was completely wrong. But they had a wonderful product, something that I completely believed in. I'm not going to dive into too many specifics about it.
Yeah.
But with their success, they acquired recreational. With their recreational success, they realized where their profits were. A 50 milligram gummy takes a lot more rosin than a 10 milligram gummy.
Mm-hmm.
You can't sell anything more than a 10 milligram piece on the recreational market. And these guys abandoned the medical market because of profits.
So that's just at that. That's 5 times as much for the same product.
Yep.
That means you're producing 5 gummies instead of 1 for the same margin, right? There's no more there, right? And furthermore, when we talk about being in the medicinal market, do you want people who care about the medicine? Who cares about the medicine? That would be, the people who've been in the market, the hippies, the legacy growers, who doesn't necessarily care about producing good medicine. And we've seen it before cannabis became legal. It's the pharmaceutical industries. It's the people with all the money, right? Mm-hmm. We are seeing that in the medical industry, and those people, again, is kind of what we're talking about. They're the ones that are coming in. We don't want you guys producing our medicine. We watched it before. We had to turn to cannabis. Now you've turned to cannabis and you're taking it from everybody. But there's people in the industry that are old school wizards. We won't necessarily call them master growers. But
I hate that term. The best of us hate it. I'm going to say it right now. The best of us hate it. When you come across somebody and the first thing they want to tell you is that they're a master grower, run. That motherfucker don't know shit. Mm-hmm. He hasn't learned anything since he started calling himself a master grower. He hasn't opened his mind since he started calling himself a master grower. He's never taken any practice in humility. He's never set himself back and humbled himself to learn a lesson that needs to be learned. These guys have already assumed that they know everything, and they'll tell you that they know everything. I've been doing this for 30 years. I know that's hard to believe, but that's my son, so believe it. He's 27 years old. I've been doing this for 30 years, and I'm so far from mastering it.
So one of my favorite things to do nowadays in the cannabis industry is you get some cannabis and you attempt to identify its lineage by the smell. And the only people who can do that are the people who've been smelling cannabis for 20, 30 years, right?
That's fact.
Right?
That is fact.
And so you'll get something, it'll have somebody's name on it, and you're like, well, that is definitely not those profiles, right? I feel like they just kind of made up a name for this.
So
right?
that's we've already found that to happen with some of the biggest brands in Colorado that have been socially exposed to renaming cannabis that they'd been growing for the last 5-6 years, and their market started to trickle off because they weren't introducing new genetics, and they didn't prepare for the fact that everybody was going to be coming on as strong as they were and breeding it like they were and creating these names for themselves. And so the easiest way for them to remarket what they were currently doing without having to give up anything was to simply go down the list and rename it. That list was exposed to the public. That was within the last year.
Yeah.
That is one of the biggest companies in Colorado.
Yeah.
Now, I'm not trying to take somebody's living from them.
Right.
I'm not even trying to shit on the company.
Yeah.
I honestly could care less about the name of the marijuana. Sure, there's some catchy ones out there
But
that
patients
I freaking
deserve better.
love, But why not just be honest with your patients?
Yeah.
Why does it have to be something behind their back?
Right.
Like, I've screwed up royally. We've had to ditch crops because of mistakes I've made personally.
Yeah.
I've been doing this for a long, long time, so it's a
That's called
hard pill to
responsibility, though.
swallow,
Right? Because those are going to happen. Mistakes will happen.
They do.
And it's the people who take responsibility to handle them properly versus ways that they can trick everybody into still taking this product. And we see that happen time and time again.
We do. Remediation is probably more of a common practice than anybody in the Colorado Springs area would want to know. You can easily have your product remediated before it even goes to market. It will say remediated on the metric, but the consumer will never see that. How is that fair? What does it matter if the dispo knows if it's remediated or not? Why is that information not passed on to the consumer? Even if I had to remediate something, I believe that the consumer should be aware of that. How is that not fair? Yeah. How does the dispo get the opportunity to decide whether they want to disclose that or not? But we have to. If everybody should be disclosing this, we should all be disclosing it. It should be fair across the board.
It should be common knowledge for everyone, all the way through.
And it shouldn't be common practice.
No,
that's the other thing. It needs to go away. And not helping somebody that you see in trouble. Like, I get it, the asshole that knows everything, and he's not going to listen to you anyways, for sure. But when you see somebody struggling, when you see a fellow cannabis grower struggling, and you know his woes, you know what he's been through, why is it so hard to give him that little helpful hint that could change his whole freaking life? Why have we become so... We hoard this information.
Gatekeeping.
It shouldn't be that way. Like, that was one of the biggest things about, like, watching Google appear and watching the internet appear and watching this happen in my lifetime, was this information was now readily available. And it was like, to me, that was kid in the candy stores type stuff. Like, I was excited about being able to, I was excited about him being able to cross-check the information that I was giving him. I was excited about him coming back to me and going, Dad, like, your theories are legit theories.
Yeah.
Like, I looked them up and I checked out what you're saying, and you're absolutely right. And that's not something I read.
Right.
That's something I developed on my own.
Right.
And
through experience.
So I like sharing the knowledge. I like sharing the info. I like sitting down with other growers and hearing them tell me how they do it completely different than I do, and yet they produce a product that I love to smoke.
Yeah.
I mean, let's be honest.
Those are the times that you like being wrong, or just like hearing the different thing.
Oh yeah.
Right? Because it takes a professional to perfect a certain way, and it's nice to meet other professionals.
It is.
That perfected their way.
It is.
Well, it revitalizes your hope in the market and in the industry too, because you know that there's other like-minded people out there who may not be doing it exactly how you're doing it, but they care about it the exact same way that you care about it, and they care about it in a way that it genuinely affects the whole consumer base. They're actually putting something out there that's worth it for the consumer to purchase, and worth it for us to promote as well. It might not be our product, but if you create something that's worth it for the consumer to have and to actually partake in, then we're going to promote that as well.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be from Potsmith.
We've got an affliction that most people don't suffer from in the cannabis industry. We like marijuana. And so therefore, when we come across good marijuana, we tell people it's good marijuana. And I know that that's an issue. I can see that we should probably try to fix that since nobody else does it. But then again, we like that. We've always loved marijuana. And so when we come across people that are just as passionate about it as we are, like, I've never once held back because somebody grew something better than I did. I've never once held back because somebody grew something different than I did. I pride myself on being able to smoke something and go, you grow with GH. And they go, yep. How did you fucking know? Well, I've been smoking for a long time, and I know what it tastes like.
This hormone.
I know what that combination comes out like. I don't care what cultivar you're growing with.
You see a red-headed thing, just hairs abound down the side. No, thank you.
Yeah.
There's too much hormone over there.
Yeah. I love the interpretation of cannabis. There's a human interpretation of cannabis that gets forgotten.
Yeah.
They get, again, caught up in the procedures rather than the relationship that you can have with cannabis and the expressions that it offers in return for creating that relationship, getting to know the plant, getting to understand what it loves, likes, and wants. There's a lot of guys out there putting out a lot of really, really good information that are extremely passionate about cannabis. I could name off half a dozen people that I don't think get enough recognition in the cannabis world because they're not big corporate names. Yeah. They're people that are just extremely passionate about what they do.
And the problem and the hard thing is there's almost no way for anybody to even do any type of advertising in the cannabis industry, right? There's small ways, and
you gotta get creative.
Yeah, to get creative. But the problem is we got these big timers, these conglomerates that bought the store right next to the highway and put up a sign that's as much as the store. And they're taking over these industries, and everybody who actually deserves an opportunity, to join the fight is just being completely denied in several ways. One, from them being able to market themselves, to stringent guidelines that are foolish to even adhere to in the first place. Overregulation. And then one of the things that you guys have done here in the Springs to fight back is create community. And so, yeah, there's big time dispensaries, but the community has created essentially a guideline for everybody else to create a standard. There's a standard outside of what the dispensaries are. Can you talk about what Unity for Community in Colorado Springs is doing for you guys and everybody around you?
Let's talk about the origins of Unity for Community.
Okay.
This was brought to me. This isn't something that I came up with. It was brought to me, and it's one of those things where it was such a good idea that I had to jump on it immediately, and I had to be a part of it immediately. Yeah. When I saw the hashtag Unity for Community, it was on a friend of mine's page. We weren't friends yet, but we were introduced through Instagram, like a lot of cannabis connections are done now. They're done through digital, social media, it was, I'm trying to remember what his first Instagram was. Now he's Wow Pops, which is a local edible brand. Phenomenal stuff. If you have a chance to check out Wow Pops on Instagram, please.
Definitely go check him out.
Great dude. He is loud, he is obnoxious, he is in your face, and he is a wonderful human being. So through Wow Pops and watching how he was doing things, I wanted to meet him. And what he was doing was he was selflessly going around to different dispensaries and different brands without any loyalty whatsoever to any specific one, and bringing recognition to the obscure brand that nobody knew about. He brought recognition to Bayou Bites. And I'm not saying that Bayou Bites hasn't done a great job on their own. Their labeling's awesome. Their product's amazing, which is number one. The people behind it are good people. That there's no doubt about it. There's nobody in the Springs that would say ill about Bayou Bites. They are wonderful human beings. And Joey saw that. He invested his time into that. And he made sure that everyone else in the community was aware of them. And I can say that about 20 different brands that he's done that for, including my brand, including us. And that's where Unity for Community came from, was from Joey doing those actions. Me watching him be selfless. I mean, just completely selfless.
Selfless consumer reviews of every...
Selfless consumer reviews. He walks into a pizza joint, it's fire as hell, and he makes sure everybody knows about it on social media. If you do Colorado Springs, hashtag Colorado Springs food, like his posts will come up over and over and over and over again, because he's showing you where all the dopest spots to eat are around here. He believes in the same kind of passion behind cannabis. He wants to expose the mom and pops down here. Sure, he still supports the cookie store locally here in town, because he believes in the owner behind it. He believes in the small family that's representing cookies here in Colorado Springs. It's not necessarily the cookies brand. Obviously, they don't need a lot of help with marketing. They're doing a wonderful job. But he believes in the people. He believes in the community down here. He's tired of seeing people talk shit, step on us in Denver, acting like we don't exist. Right. He's over it. He's done. He was like, there's some phenomenal guys down here that need recognition, and they're being overlooked, is what it's come down to, because we're in a medical situation, not a recreational situation. And so, like you said, how do we expose each other? It's through unity that we will expose each other. the point that I will bring up over and over again, if all of us are operating at full capacity, hitting our yields at 100%, we are still shy of meeting the consumer demand in Colorado Springs for good marijuana. There is an abundance of bullshit down here. Don't get me wrong, it is overflowing with crap. There's lots of it, but good marijuana, there's a need still.
Yeah,
I believe it.
Do you, where do you see Potsmiths having a chance to take on Colorado and possibly grow outside of Colorado?
Yes, absolutely.
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely.
Oh yeah.
There's no doubt in my mind. The difference between me is I'm not going to cultivate beyond my control. I won't open another medical facility in Colorado. This will be our only medical cultivation facility because I can control it. It's rather large as it is. But I don't want, my job isn't to produce millions and millions of square foot of canopy. That's not who I am. That would take away from my passion. That would take away from my individual experience with marijuana. It would turn it into something that I believe is a mutated child of the industry that is strictly based off profit. And I want nothing to do with it.
How big is your facility here?
20,000 square feet.
And how many employees do you employ?
We have 7 employees.
Wow. Who are your main hands for getting in there and getting the job done?
My number one by far is Austin when it comes to hard work and cultivation. There's nobody that's ever worked as hard as him next to me. I've had grown men that have developed things with me over a decade that still can't do what he can do in a day. That's a fact. His knowledge base at 27 years old is freaking scary. It's scary. Like the guys that are out there that are 27 years old that are competing against him, you should be doing your homework.
All right.
Know that.
Yeah.
Because he is. He
Every
teaches
day.
me stuff.
Every day.
I don't know if we can really talk about it yet, but you guys are getting ready to do, are doing a collab with...
Oh, we can definitely talk about it. Let's expose
Let's
this.
talk
Yeah,
about
let's
it.
totally
We are
do it.
getting crazy. So we, like I said, we are the opposite of the cannabis brand that's coming down here to compete with anybody. I love healthy competition. I don't think there's anything wrong with it because I like high-fiving and hanging out with my homies. And so that's what it's kind of become down here. The best brands down here don't look at me as an enemy. They love me. You know, they know my passion.
I can vouch for that.
They don't want to make me an enemy.
Yeah.
They know that too.
That's
you know,
smart.
and that's not a threat. That's just because they know what my attitude is, and I'm
Yeah.
all about strengthening the community. So who doesn't want to be a part of that? And I've genuinely portrayed that over and over again, where we have sacrificed our own profits to make sure that people realize that we're making a good deal for us,
Yeah.
not for just me, for us.
Yeah.
I want to do this deal 1,000 times, not one time and make $1 million. I want to do it 1,000 times, where you're begging to do it over and over again, and I am too.
Yeah.
I want good, smooth, clean business transactions where we're both happy at the end of it. And I believe that there needs to be more of that. And there's people down here that believe the same things I believe, come to find out. And when you get them in a closed room and you start smoking a joint, you start talking about their woes, and then you start talking about the solutions, like all of a sudden you realize, hey, we're on the same page, man. We're trying to hit the same goals. Even if we were both at full capacity, we'll never step on each other's toes if we work together. You know,
We can provide solutions for each other.
Who are you working with?
I am super excited about who we're working with. We are working with Stone Street Canna.
All right.
They are phenomenal people, number
Yep.
one. Can't say enough about their character, can't say enough about their business practices, can't say enough about what they've been willing to sacrifice for the consumer down here in the market. I could tell you personal stories that are none of your business that would wow you on what they've been willing to go through to provide a superior product to the market down in Colorado Springs. They take it just as seriously as I do. They would cut off their fingers to make sure that they are providing quality product to the cannabis community down here before they would ever cut a dime out.
What product are you guys collabing with Stone Street on?
So, Stone Street's known for doing great flour. Everybody knows it. They do a phenomenal job.
Tremendous.
You know, the only bitch about Stone Street's flour is wish they grew more. You know, that's the honest truth. Everybody will tell you that. That's a fact. If you haven't tried Stone Street, you're missing out. Especially if you're in the Colorado Springs area. Like Denver, it might be a little bit hard. You might have to travel down to get it, but it's worth the travel. Like these guys are real.
Worth it.
They do rosin products too. They have a gold label product, and then they have what they call their cured product. There's been some confusion in the past about what their premium product is and what their cured product is. It's very simple, folks. The cured product is on the backside of a cured flour product. Premium product is fresh frozen. Yeah. That's the difference. The gold label's the dead giveaway. So, knowing that, we are going to create a gummy line with their cured rosin. We are going to create a collaboration, Stone Street Hammer Extracts gummy line that is specifically flavored for them. We are going to work with Stone Fruits with Stone Street. I will let that out there. Cool. There will be Stone Fruit flavors for Stone Street.
And if you don't know what a stone fruit is, it's just like a fruit with a pit inside of it. Is a basic description of a stone fruit. So
that's the definition of a stone fruit.
Who's heading up this whole flavoring up your collaboration?
I am probably one of the luckiest guys in the world that not only do I get to cultivate with my oldest son, but I've been able to develop a myth and gummy line with one of my other sons. Logan is a phenomenal candy maker. He has proven that this is where his niche is, this is where his passion is, this is where he finds drive. When we're 12 hours in, he's got 3 more to go. You know?
So, Logan, let's talk about the gummies. How long you been at it?
I've been making gummies for probably about 6 months to a year now, I'd say.
You're almost a year now. Yeah. You're real
Just
close
about
to
a
a
year.
year. Yeah.
And earlier we were talking about, before you really put your hands full on, that you were really trying to work out the kinks in the recipe itself already before you even took it on. And you'd noticed some things, and you wanted to fix those, and altogether you decided we want a softer, just robustly flavored gummy.
Yeah.
How did you come to that conclusion?
So I came to that conclusion with testing a bunch of different results of gummies, not only with playing with gummy recipes, but eating other candies and whatnot. So going out of my way to stop at 7-Eleven here and there to try different candies. A really good candy product that I like comes from Oregon. It's the Werner's.
Yeah.
They're amazing. They're absolutely delicious, and that's kind of how I wanted to base my gummy product off of, is this texture of these same gummies. But the thing is they play with pectin, and I'm not at that level yet. I'm doing gelatin only, and I've figured out a method to get that same texture with gelatin, which is a little bit more difficult, but it is definitely worth it.
What are your gummies called?
My gummies are the Hammer Extract gummies. We have we're gonna drop the sour line soon, but we have the exotic line and the original line at the moment.
Very cool.
Yeah, and then we're gonna, of course, do the rosin line. We're gonna end up doing a rosin line with Stone Street, a collab with them, and then we're gonna hopefully do future collabs with other companies, Potsmiths being one of them. Yeah.
That's awesome. That's really cool. What other type of edibles do you see yourself getting into?
The other edibles that I really want to get into at the moment are things like liquid gummies. Liquid gummies would be an amazing product to be able to get into. I've seen a lot of people liking the liquid gummies. They like the fact that they can just dose a drink real quick and drink their drink, and it's all good. Something else that I've been thinking about is truffles, doing a boutique truffle, like 150 milligrams, where you only want to eat one truffle, or split it in half and share it with a friend. But it'll be, each truffle will have its own kind of boutique, original, or originality to it.
Yeah, it's a very romantic idea all the way around.
Exactly, and
Yeah.
it'll be in a single box by itself, and hopefully I'll try and get it as pretty as possible. So when you see that truffle, you're like, wow, that's an amazing candy.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
a boutique candy. It's not going to be something that's like an everyday buy, but for sure for that exotic, like, oh wow, that's going to be a special treat for somebody. Like, let me get them this present or something
Very
for
cool.
your girlfriend or significant
Special
other or whatever.
occasion.
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
special occasions like gifts or
Anniversaries, birthdays,
yeah.
Valentine's
So-
Day, like
Rosin gummies, rosin anything has become the rave.
yes.
Over the course of the past about 2 years, it's really just kicked into 4-wheel drive, and that's what is that what we call full spectrum
Yes.
versus mono or single, which would be distillate.
Distillate, yeah. Rosin is definitely more of a full spectrum. You get a lot more cannabinoids with the rosin gummies, so they don't only make you super high and want to go to sleep, but they also give you that extra medical benefit to it, where it helps you with your aches and pains. It helps you with seizures and epilepsy and all that kind of stuff, because it has that full spectrum effect to it.
So let's talk about your experience. You've been growing cannabis for 20 years, over 20 years,
Almost 30.
almost 30 years. You started off in Oregon,
I did.
and you cut your teeth out there.
I did.
You gained experience, and you tried all the different philosophies,
I did.
and you landed on what you have now, and you're perfecting it. Working at perfecting it, as you keep telling me.
For the rest of my life.
Yeah. So
You
how
guys
long
are
ago
building
did-
a retirement plan. I'm figuring out how to grow till I croak in the grow room.
It's a running joke around the facility. One of these days, it's
You guys are gonna
be
fly?
well, it's going to be a matter of either finding him in the corner of a grow room somewhere, or I mean, the other joke that me and him have had all the time is, one of the days we're going to have our employees set up. We're going to have everybody roaming around the facility, and someone's going to go, "Who's that old guy over there messing with plants in the corner?" And we're just going to go, "Just don't mess with him. He's fine. Just don't mess with him."
I have no intentions of retiring. This isn't work to me. I put in 14, 16-hour days, and I go home and think about how soon I can get there tomorrow.
Just talks about it all day when we're at home.
All night,
This
yeah,
is
it's
everything that we do. This is all of our love. This is all of our passion. We're putting our whole heart, our whole family is integrated in this. His significant other, like, she does our marketing, and his significant other helps us where she can with the joints and all that other packaging and all of that kind of stuff.
labeling and all
Like,
kinds of stuff.